Hey, Pathfinders, how's it going? How are you? What's going on? Welcome back to Light the Path podcast. I'm your host, Debra the Queen. We are in season 6 and it is so exciting. I have another great episode for y'all. We're getting closer than before. Now, this guest, he says that his life is a Netflix series. Okay, let me read this to y'all. Let me read his bio because y'all are going to absolutely love this. With 30 years of experience connecting mind and body, Alfredo shares how disconnection shows up in our health, emotions, and everyday choices when life looks fine on the outside. This conversation is for anyone who feels tired of surviving, ready to listen to their body again, and longing to live an aligned, whole, and free life. Let me just start with a question. What is your body trying to say that your mind keeps ignoring? We're just going to leave that right there and listen. Help me welcome Alfredo Zapata, Mexico City in the house.
Hello, Debbie. Thank you very
Hello.
much for the invitation, and I'm excited and a little bit cold here, but very happy to have this opportunity.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you. When you told me your life is like a Netflix series, I said, ooh, this is going to be a good conversation. So
Yeah,
many years of experience that you have here, 30 years of teaching people to connect mind and body. What usually breaks the connection first in our lives? And then how do we begin to restore that?
yeah. Well, oftentimes people continue to live since they born from the neck up because they hear, they see, they process different information, and they start getting a little bit mature. After they're younger. So some of the emotions they just come inside from here, and the mind process, but the body is the one that receives some of the impact. That sometimes you feel happy, and then you shout and jump, and sometimes you feel sad, and you're kind of like in a cocoon. But the equation of mind and body, sometimes you don't pay attention until the body starts sending signals. And what you need to do sometimes is to listen to your body. And sometimes we don't listen. And what we do is trying to do a quick fix. I have a neck pain. So I'm going to take a pill. I'm going to put acupuncture, massage. And then when it's gone, we continue, but we don't know what's the origin of the problem, which is some of the times what happens in our past that we keep carrying that thing.
That's so good. That's very a good point. So, what usually breaks the connection first? What makes us ignore that and just keep on going? Is it the quick fix?
Most of the time, that's how we got trained. Because if the kid cries, oh, don't cry, just get the little um, baby
Passing.
bottle,
Yes, yes,
get a little that thing, then they bite,
yes.
or just cover it with the blanket if it's cold, or maybe you're wet, so I need to change your diaper, and that's it. Excuse me. And you don't see much of what that trigger. Obviously, sometimes you say, well, it's because of this, but sometimes the origin, it goes beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people have a bad posture, sometimes could be because you have a something in your mind and it's bothering you. Like, oh, I'm late. Oh, I need to get this deadline. And then you start moving your body in a way that the body tense the muscles. So you feel
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, you don't feel well, and then you start saying, oh, I need to get the deadline, but I have a pain. So I start kind of trying to move yourself, like trying to connect, but you don't know where because you've been doing it for a long time until something start getting serious, and then you go to the doctor and say, well, it's because of you have a scoliosis on your neck, you need
Mm-hmm.
to get therapy. And then you say, oh, I didn't know I needed therapy. I thought it was just pain because I'm at the deadline and I'm stressed out. So we're trying just to do that quick, but we don't think beyond what could happen.
Yeah. So, what was your motivation to call your program Connect Mind and Body?
It takes me back to when I was younger. I'm a single, the only child from a single mom in the 60s. In Mexico, it wasn't common. Normally, in Latin families and some other countries, they have 4 or 5 kids, and, the mom, the dad. So even though I got a lot of love from my grandparents, my uncle, my mom, I felt like I was missing something, especially family gatherings and at school. What's your dad? So I start kind of in my mind processing like around 5, 6 years old. What can I do to feel more secure? And I was watching football, soccer on TV with my uncle, and at school there was not much of subject of exercise or anything else. So I started walking around the block. I grew up in the business district close to the government palace. So on the weekends, it was like nobody around. So I started just walking by myself and feeling like that loneliness, being by myself and moving my body as I walk, start feeling like I was in some type of a control of myself. And I start jogging a little bit, with no tennis shoes, no nothing gear fancy. And I start noticing that a little jogging started giving me some kind of power, like a superhero, and I feel like, wow, it feels good because no one told me that. My mom says, okay, well, just be careful, don't cross the street, just go around the block. And I start feeling like that, start enhancing my endorphins in some way, at young age, and feel like, wow, it feels good. It feels like the soccer players. It feels like the TV show, like Batman or Superman. Then they kind of transform their body and they change what they do. In the sports, by moving my body without noticing, it started giving me that power that I was missing. And then I play football, soccer, martial arts, and then I went to bodybuilding, which started giving me even more of that security. And then I start saying, well, it feels good, but I wasn't connecting mind and body because it was just some activity that triggered some emotions. But then when I studied nutrition, I went to the anatomy, the physiology, the different connections with the nerves in the brain and the body. And I started saying, oh, well, that kind of makes sense that I'm able to send signals to my body to move and do things. And long after I moved to LA in a different season, in a different episode, I started noticing that was a interconnection between the mind and the body because I got to meet people from, bodybuilding fields. I was at Gold's Gym Venice almost since I arrived. So it was very good to see the professional athletes. Lou Ferrino, Arnold, at some point I saw it, Gregory Hines, and they were there. And I said, well, they're here. And everybody was treating each other like a family. But I feel like everybody has something in common. They have a body and they had a purpose to preserve their body, to make the body healthier. But then I say, well, everybody has a body, but everybody has a different mind and has something in common. But I found that some people were with a no congruent attitude. Some of them they were with a bad temper. Some of them were like really kind of lonely, depressed. And I said, well, what's going on? If this is a place, a temple of preserving your body, why people change their moods? I thought it was something no like connected. And I said, well, it happens to me. So someone told me it's because you're not thinking. It wasn't connecting mind and body. It was like you're not thinking about what you do. You just do it automatically. And I said, oh, okay. So then I started studying some physiology with a friend from church. I joined a church also. And, my walk was like really open to a new world when I said, this connection has something, then I need to find out more. So as I start taking back when I was growing up to that point, then I was already at that place, the mecca of bodybuilding. And I felt like, wow, I'm here, but I'm learning about me because I'm learning from other people. And then a good friend of mine, a physiotherapist, says, Alfredo, God gave us a body, but you must take care of it as if it was the whole thing, not just what you're thinking or what you're doing. And I said, yeah. Yeah. So the slogan of my program after I became a personal trainer, it was called Listen to Your Body. That was the slogan. So the body was telling you, listen to me. I'm not just here to make you do things. I'm here for you to listen what's going on. So that's when I start saying, I we gotta connect mind and body.
Very good. Very good. Now, you've worked with, you said, some executives, athletes, and entrepreneurs across the world. What common mental and physical block do you see, regardless of culture or success level, that we sort of all common have? Like, what's the missing link between our mind and our body, getting those two connected?
Well, sometimes they don't think about the present, they think about the past, and then they think about the future. So the current time, the current present, is kind of like unstable. It's not
Mm,
solid. So people just continue to saying, well, I'm going to continue doing what I did because that's what it got me here. But I want to get to the other point. But the missing link is the present, where we are now.
yeah.
And sometimes people were saying, well, if I did it before, how come it's not working here? Because I want to get there. But the link is focusing on what you have now. Use it as a fuel, but don't be reminiscent and saying, well, I used to, and now I cannot do it. So what can I do to get there? And then you start doing the paralysis analysis.
Yes.
And then people don't change. And some people that were coming to me after I became a personal trainer and say, well, I want to lose weight because I was very skinny and I was a ballerina or I was a gymnast. And I say, yeah, but now there's 30 years ago that you did it. You need to upgrade and even wiser use those concepts to become better now
Mm-hmm.
and not keep saying I'm the old picture of today, but I'm the new one, the new version of you. And that's when some people that were saying, well, no, what I'm looking is a quick fix. And I said, well, thank you very much, but I cannot help you with that if you're not committed to stay in the present.
Yes. That's very good. That's a very good point to point out. I mean, because that's all of us. We are either behind or we're too future forward. So leaning into the present, the now, is a very good point that you bring out. You've also co-authored a book, Discover Your Greatness. How do you define greatness, and why do so many people live far below their potential?
That's my personal example. After moving to another country and trying to find my greatness, to find my identity, I was kind of like stumbling in different places, and I wasn't really connecting mind and body, even though I had that concept growing up because it was a new world for me. And then I start trying to kind of climb up and become more self-sufficient. So I went to different network meetings to provide to promote my services. Personal training. You do your business cards and stuff like that. And someone said, "Well, Alfredo, you've been doing all these network events, but you only do it with English-speaking people," which it was one of my strengths, and I discovered than I had after I study and I practice, and the language started becoming more like my first language. So someone said, "Why don't you go to a Spanish network so you can connect with Spanish speaking people? Don't dish Spanish because those are your roots. You're here in a different country, you're using a different language, but they need to hear what you have." So I went to one of them, and I started talking to people and saying, "Okay, I'm doing this, and thank you and very much." And then someone came into the mixing, and she said, "Well, Alfredo, what you're doing is very good. I have a TV show called Awakening, and I would love you to be on it so you can share a bit about what you do." And I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." It was an Argentinian woman who lived there. She was an accountant, and she discovered after her walk this type of belief and technique from Hawaii called Ho'oponopono. And she said, "I want you to be on the show." So I went there to the show, and you got the makeup thing, the lighting, and everything, and then you go online on TV. And I share, part of my what I do, the connecting mind and body, eating healthy. And she said, "Well, that's great. My program is awakening yourself so you can become better and everything else. I would like you to come back." And I said, "Well, that's great. I would like to come back." But that program was pay. It was sponsored by the people who were the guests on the show. And I said, "Well, I just got married and we have a kid, and I think it'll be kind of challenging for me to do it right now." And she said, "Well, don't worry. I understand. I appreciate you came to me, and I think you have something very special. Come back and don't worry about the payment." So she invited me about 5 times to the show, and I was very pleased because I said, "Wow, this woman is being so generous and is giving me the opportunity to express something that was kind of like ready to blossom, like the little worm that turns into a butterfly." Because imagine that you feel that type of encouragement, and she said, "You have something great." Like Les Brown says, "You have something great in you." So I say, "Well, sure." So she invited me to an event where she was speaking, and then there was some vendors. They had books, t-shirts, and things. So there was a guy with the glasses, and they had this thing on, like, in the leg. He had polio. He grew up with polio,
Mm-hmm.
and he became an author. He moved to U.S. from Mexico, from Puebla, and he started developing his life, and then he got married. He got 3 kids, one of them blind with kidney failure, and some
Mm.
other challenge, the third child. So it was someone who walked very difficult journey, but he became an author talking about self-development. And I said, "Well, that's great." And, I'm Alfredo, and we started exchanging numbers. And he said, "Well, good to meet you." And then weeks later, he called me and said, "Alfredo, we've been talking, me and another friend, about writing this book, and we already have about 15 authors. They're writing the book, the chapters. So I would like you to come and meet them. Maybe you can come in the next edition." And I said, "Oh, sure." So I went to that dentist. I meet the guys. Everybody was from different walks of life. And I said, "Okay, well, good meeting you. And, I'll talk to you later." So I went home. I told my wife, and I said, "Well, I meet these guys, and they're writers, and some of them they're like different kinds of people, but they're writing a book, and they told me that
Mhm.
maybe the next episode, the next issue, I can be on it. And he said, "Oh, that's great." So midnight, the phone rings, and that was this guy, and he said, "Alfredo, something happened here. There was four people that were able to they weren't able to continue writing the book because family, work, and different issues. So we want you
Mhm.
to be
Mhm.
one of the writers. You have a week to turn your chapter." And I said, "Well, that's awesome, but
Whoa.
I never wrote a book. How do I
Yes.
write it? What can I do?" And he said, "Well, everybody has a story. You have my
Mhm.
story. I told you my story. So think about it, write it, and we're gonna be meeting because we have there was like about 2 months or something that we need to get ready because we were trying to rent the LA Sports Center to do the book launch." And I said, "Wow, that's awesome." So I start that night writing and throwing sheets of paper because I know what I was going to write. And anyway, I kind of got my mind centered and I said, "Well, if God is giving me this opportunity, I'm going to do it." So my chapter was very, very good, concise, based on part of my walk, but how I saw the light to become who I am. And it was awesome because from there, things start unfolding. And I said, "Well, that greatness is within each of us, but sometimes we're blind because we don't listen and we just keep that path straight." And this guy crossed my path and said, "Alfredo, you are great. Share it with the world."
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, listen, for the listener who feels disconnected, burned out, or stuck in survival mode, what is one small but powerful step that they can take this week to realign their mind and their body?
Well, one of the things that I tell my clients and people that I coach, I tell them, look in the mirror every morning and see yourself. Know how you look,
Mm,
but how you're living.
yeah.
Because some people they just go, they brush, they get fixed, and they leave in automatic, and they don't take a time to say, "What am I doing here? Am I am I giving myself a high five that everything is gonna be good? That I'm capable, or that I'm having some issues that I'm working?" Because most of the people, unless they send them to the psychologist, they don't speak too much, or unless you're talking to a good friend or someone. But it's very different when you see yourself in the mirror and there is no hidden cameras, there is no bias, there is nothing but you. And if you're not able to see yourself in the mirror, in the eyes, and see who you are now, you're going to have different perception of your life, and you're going to be walking automatically in a
Hmm.
spiral. It's never going to end until you crashing on the wall, which I did many times.
Hmm.
But that will be very challenging, painful. But you can realign yourself every day. Look in the mirror and saying, "Hey, Alfredo, how you doing? You doing good? Yeah, you might have some some hairlines or something, but how do you do it?" And talking to yourself is very important, but being very serious.
Yes, that's really good, Alfredo. Thank you so much for being on Light the Path. Let the listeners know where they can connect with you on social media.
Yeah, well, the Instagram handle is the one more easy to do. Is Alfredo Zapata Coach, like my name, Alfredo Zapata Coach,
Hmm.
and that's how I connect with people a little more easily. I have the Facebook, the X, and the other social media, but Instagram is
Okay.
the quickest.
Okay. All right. Well, listeners, I will put that in the description. That way you can connect with Alfredo. Thank you so much. Pathfinders, remember that sharing our experiences is not only empowering, it can help light the path.